owners of OnCore Golf, and the chairman of OnCore Golf is Keith Blakely, and you're going to make us all smarter to explain the technology behind the ball. It's not just balls of steel, it's not just a slogan, it's a fact, as we see here on the end.
Well, that's exactly right. It's not a slogan. As we like to say, it's not fiction, it's physics. How do you hit a straight shot off the tee? You keep it from spinning to the side, because a side spin is going to cause you to increase what's called the Magnus force. That's part of the physics. The Magnus force means that as that ball spins sideways, there's a force that's pushing it to either the right or the left.
There's your slice or hook.
Exactly. The faster that's spinning, the higher the Magnus force, the more you're going to be off the center line that you want to hit it to. So what we do is we slow that side spin down. To slow it down, we push the weight to the outside. Once that ball is off the tee and it's spinning, if the weight is closer to the outside, that side spin, that mishit that you just gave it, will slow down sooner. And so what you'll see is that the ball, although it can be hooked or sliced, will actually stop hooking or slicing a little bit sooner, gives you a better chance of hitting more fairways, keeps it in play.
The first time I played the ball, I like many, I'm sure, watching this like, okay, yeah, right, this ball goes straighter. I totally shanked one off the drive, and it started to power fade, slice, and a ball that normally would have went out of bounds stayed in.
Absolutely. Now you've got a challenge, because the more you take that metal core and push it to the outside, the less polymer you've got around the core, and so the feel of the ball now is going to be different. You don't want to hit a steel ball with your titanium head driver. And so there's a balance between the accuracy that you can achieve with the ball and the way the ball is going to play, how it's going to feel. And not just off the tee, but you've got iron shots, you've got wedge shots, and of course you've got your putting. Now, one of the advantages that we didn't anticipate when the ball was originally designed was what we call this wide track tire effect on the putting green. We see a lot of people writing to us about how, sure, they noticed it went a little bit straighter, but where they really saved some strokes was in the putting game, because it was more of a point and shoot kind of ball. Less break on the green because, again, the weight is on the outside. There's no weight in the center, so it tends to stay straight, be less affected by the perturbations on the green surface.
I imagine a ton of testing went into this.
Oh, yeah.
To make it not only fly straight, but distance is a part of the game here. How does it measure up?
Well, again, that was part of the balance. In designing the ball, the first couple of designs had a wider diameter core, did have a harder feel, but what we really noticed, unfortunately, was that it gave us a much shorter ball. So we went back to the drawing board, redesigned the core a little bit, decided to shrink the core. That changes the amount of accuracy that you achieve, although we still know from the Iron Byron testing that this is amongst the straightest balls on the market. But what this now does is it achieves a competitive distance. We find that these balls stack up against some of the best out there in terms of distance. The other part of it, I think, is the mental part of the game. If you're not clutched when you step up to that tee, worried about hooking or slicing the ball because you know the ball's going to help you hit it straighter, more likely to relax and have a more natural drive. And that will typically lead to better distance.
I know other golf technology companies are interested with OnCore Golf.
There's a company out in Silicon Valley, very inventive guy who just happens to love the golf industry. The idea being that if you've got a pair of Google glasses, the iCaddy app will allow you to look at the pin, tell you what the distance is. It'll download course information, so it'll give you a little bit of detail about what kind of club you ought to play. It will store some of your historical data. You've had trouble on a hole, it'll remind you of that. Some very interesting things. And what brought iCaddy to OnCore was they saw that we were marketing a product outside the normal methodology, if you will, and thought, the Google Glass iCaddy product is so unique that they ought to partner up with somebody else that had a unique golf product. What we liked about it was the mission of OnCore has been to make the game more enjoyable to the average golfer. hit more fairways, sink more putts. We looked at the iCaddy app and said, you know what? There are going to be a lot of people that are going to be enjoying the game more if their club selection or their judging the distance to the green is improved by the use of those Google glasses. So very consistent.
Excellent stuff. Thank you for the knowledge. Well, now that we know what the golf ball does, I'll put it to the test on one of the toughest par 4s in Western New York. Stay with us here on Tee2Green. When you look at the fairway, you need to keep the ball straight. It is very intimidating.
The tip of the week is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. The Ultra life is in the living.
Well, today we've been hearing about one of our great partners here, our title sponsor, OnCore Golf, and the Evo golf ball with the steel core, which makes the ball fly straighter. The best place to demonstrate that, in my mind, is the third hole at Lockport Country Club. As we see here, it's about 400 yards in length, which is fairly demanding for a par 4 here in Western New York. But when you look at the fairway, you need to keep the ball straight on both shots, the tee shot and the approach. It is very intimidating as far as ball flight's concerned. You need to keep it straight on this hole because you go right, you're in trees. You go left, you are down a bank and gonzo. So we're going to test it out here, number 3 at Lockport Country Club. This one's got to be in the fairway and got to be straight.